Okay, in the previous video, I discussed about ratio, which means the comparison of two or more quantities. So what about proportion? It says here, two equal ratios such as 1 is to 2 equals 2 is to 4. So if these two are equal, if these two ratios are equal, in the previous lesson I discussed, you can call them equivalent ratios. But we can also call it or call them, or we can also say that these two ratios are proportion if they are equal. Same with 5 is to 6 is equal to 10 is to 12. So if they are equal, they are proportion. So when you say proportion, it simply means two equal ratios. If we want to check if these two ratios are really equal, like in the previous video, I discussed also, we can use the cross multiply to check if two ratios are equal. So let's have the two examples here. Let's have the first one. 1 is to 2 equals 2 is to 4. Let's change first these two fraction form. So let's write 1 is to 2 in fraction, then equals, then 2 is to 4. So if we use the cross multiply, so we do it like this. We do this way. 1 times 4 is 4. Then 2 times 2 is 4. Since the products here are the same, meaning these two ratios are equal, and they are called, and you can also call it proportion. So these two ratios are proportions since they are the same or equal. Let's have the second one. Let's see if they are really proportion or equal. Let's change first these two fraction. Okay, then we'll use the cross multiply. 12 times 5, then 6 times 10. 12 times 5, yes, that's 60. 6 times 10, yes, 60. So the products here are equal, meaning they are, the ratios are equal, and this, you can also call it a proportion. Okay. Now let's discuss some important terms to remember in a proportion. Look at this ratio, 6 is to 7 equals 12 is to 14. The 6 here is our first term. The 7 is our second term. The 12 is our third term. And the 14 is our fourth term. And by the way, 7 and 12 here are called the means. Then 6 and 14 are called the extremes. If you multiply the means, multiply the extremes, you will get the same product if this is a proportion. So let's try to check. 7 times 12, that's what? 84, correct? What about 6 times 14? That is also 84. Again, the product of the means is 84 here. The product of the extremes is also 84, meaning these two ratios are equal or proportion. Now, let's go to how to find the missing term in a proportion. Okay? Look at the first example here. 5 is to n equals 20 is to 32. So if you notice, this is the first term. This is the second term. So n here is the missing term, which is the second term. So how to get the second term? So we can use the cross multiplication. Okay? So let's change this to fraction first. So let's write this in fraction first. Then use the cross multiply. So if you multiply this, again multiply 32 times 5, that's 160. Then equals 20 times n. What's 20 times n? Just write 20n. 20n means 20 times n. Okay? So how to get the n now, which is the second term? This is multiplication, 20 times n or 20n. So just simply divide or cancel both sides by 20. When you cancel like this. So cancel the 20. What is left here is n. So meaning you divide these two. So divide this, you get what? 8, right? So the value of n, which is the second term here, is 8. So if this is 8, 8 times 20 is 160. Again, 32 times 5 is 160. So they are now equal or proportion. Again, the value of n is 8. Okay, let's have that second example here. So let's change. So this time the missing is the first term. So let's change first this to fraction. Then let's cross multiply. There. So if we multiply 21 times n, so it's simply 21n. Again, 21n is 21 times n equals 7 times 18. That will give you 126. Again, after you cross multiply, you cancel or divide. Cancel both. This time we cancel both sides by 21. Then cancel. So what is left is n. So this means division. So divide this. You will get what? Yes, 6. So the value of n here is 6, meaning the first term is 6. So if this is 6, 6 times 21 is what? 126, right? So with this, 126. So they are now equal or proportion. Again, the value of n here is 6. So that's how to find the missing term in a proportion. Now let's apply the ideas of ratio and proportion in word problem. So we can use the cross multiplication and the blocks. Okay, so we'll use these two methods to solve ratio and proportion word problems. Let's have the first one. If 3 apples cost 54 pesos, how much will 5 apples cost? So let's use the cross multiplication first. So we have to set up a proportion. So here we have 3. By the way, here there are two quantities being compared, which is the number of apples to the number of, or the amounts, okay? So if you buy 3 apples, the cost is 54 pesos. What about if you buy 5 apples? So how much will it cost? So this is how you set up the the proportion or the ratios, okay? So missing this one here, which is the fourth term. So let's change that to n. Then let's cross multiply. 3 times n is 3n, correct? Equals. Then 5 times 54, that will give you what? 270. Okay, so how to get the value of n now? Yes, again, cancel both sides by 3. Or divide this by 3. So cancel, what is left here is n. So divide this, you get 90 pesos. So the missing here is 90 pesos. Meaning if you buy 5 apples, you will pay 90 pesos. So our answer is 90 pesos for 5 apples. What about if you use the blocks? Okay, we can also use blocks to solve this problem. So let's start with 3 apples. So let's draw 3 blocks. Let's say the blocks are of equal length and size. So if these 3 blocks represent the 3 apples, they cost 54 pesos. So how to get 1 block? Yes, you divide 54 by 54 pesos divided by 3 blocks. And that will give you what? 18, right? Yes. So 1 block is 18 pesos. So let's go to 5 apples. So we need 5 blocks. Assuming these blocks are the same. So with this, 3, 4. So again, assuming these blocks here are the same. So here we have 5 blocks representing the 5 apples. We know 1 block is 18 pesos. Correct? So meaning 1 apple costs 18 pesos. So how to get now the cost of 5 apples? Yes, that's just multiply 18 times 5. And that will give you 90. Same here. You see, it's 90 pesos. So again, number 1, the answer is 90 pesos for the 5 apples. The cost of 5 apples. So here I use what? Cross multiplication or the blocks to solve this ratio proportion problem. Let's have one more. Okay, let's have one more problem. Number 2, the ratio of the weight of Mark to the weight of James is 2:5. If James weighs 35 kilograms, what is Mark's weight? So the ratio of their weight is 2:5. So let's write the ratio 2:5. So the 2 belongs to, again, it's Mark to James. So let's write M for Mark. So this is for Mark. Then this is for James, the 5. Then let's write equal. James weighs 35. So this is James. So the missing is the weight of Mark. So let's use N rather for the weight of Mark, which is missing, is 2. James here, 35. So this is 35. Again, this is Mark's weight, which is missing. Then this is the weight of James, which is 35. So, how to get now the value of N? This is the first, second, the third term is missing. Again, we can use cross multiplication. Let's change first this to fraction. 2:5 equals N is to 35. So we cross multiply. Multiply this 2, that will give you 70. Multiply this, 5 times N, 5N. So this time we cancel both sides by 5. Cancel 5. So what is left here is N. So this means division. So divide 70 by 5, right? So divide this, you get 14. So meaning, the Mark's weight is 14 kilograms. Our answer is 14 kilograms. So that's the weight of Mark. What if we will use the blocks? Okay, so let's start again with the ratio. Again, the 2 is of James, Mark rather. Let me write Mark. That's 2 for Mark, the ratio. So let's draw 2 blocks. Then for James, 5 blocks. James. So let me write 5 blocks. Draw 5 blocks. 1, 2. Assuming these blocks are of equal size and length. 3, 4, and 5. Again, Mark 2. Then James 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's the ratio of their weights. Now, given James 35 kilograms, this is the weight of James. So meaning these 5 blocks is 35 kilograms. So we need to divide this by 5 to know the weight of 1 block. So divide this by 5, that's 7. Correct? So 1 block is 7. So this is also 7. Correct? So to get the weight of Mark now, since there are 2 7s, just multiply 2 times 7. So that's 14. So this is 14. So Mark's weight is 14 kilograms. So it's correct, 14 kilograms. Same here. That's all for now. I hope you learned something. See you in the next video.